Okay, my next one says, do all the children born and in the womb go with us in the rapture?
You know what? I can't tell you that for sure. I don't know that. I don't have a verse that would tell you that. But what I do is I take the implications off of other issues. And so, when I think of babies that die, for example, the Bible's clear on the fact that a child is not accountable until they reject the light that's given to them. That's actually the words of Jesus in John chapter 3. And so this is one of the reasons that, besides, passages where the Bible just flat out says it, but this is one of the reasons that babies go to heaven and little kids go to heaven. Jesus said this in John chapter 3, in verse 19, "This is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. For everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be clearly seen, that they've been done in God." And so Jesus makes the point in that passage that the reason that people are condemned is because they turn away from the light. They reject the light that's given to them. And little babies don't do that, and little kids don't do that. And so when a little kid dies, they go straight into the presence of the Lord, and so that's what happens with them. And so, when Jesus comes back for the church, he's coming back for the believers. And so I believe that, little kids who are here on the planet would go in the rapture, just like if there was I don't know, if you dropped a bomb on a city. You'd have all the believers going straight into the presence of God, and you'd have all the little kids who are under what theologians call the age of accountability. They'd go straight into the presence of God too. And so my feeling on that is that children will be going in the rapture. Even children of non-believers' families would be going in the rapture. So,
2019, looking at all the scenarios of the rapture, how would people not understand or not have a clue, when people disappear or all the kids are gone, and you try and figure out, like, what scenario would it be? A nuclear situation where they could blame it on, a world problem and stuff, and then COVID hits, and I'm like, this ain't gonna be that hard, because people, if they really want to believe something, for Satan to convince them spiritually, just spiritual deception, I don't think it's going to be as difficult as I once thought.
Yeah, I like to think that people are a lot of times smarter than they generally are, and that's a bummer. When you look in the book of Revelation, there's a passage in Revelation chapter 13 where it's talking about the Antichrist. And let me see if I can find this here. Yeah, in Revelation 13, verse 6, it says, "Then he opened his mouth," this is talking about the Antichrist, "in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven." That's an interesting phrase.
Yeah.
Because it's weird to think of. Why would you start talking about people who dwell in heaven if they're just people who've died? And, who does that?
Right.
But if you have a whole group of people who've disappeared, and you want to come up with an alternative story for why they're gone, then you could blaspheme them. In fact, there's kind of pre-stories going around right now in New Age circles that Mother Earth is about to take all of us, specifically Christians, anybody who believes in one God, is what they say. All of us, and Mother Earth is going to vomit us out, and that we're going to disappear, or that sometimes they say the aliens are going to come and get us. There's all kinds of crazy ideas with this whole thing, and so there's already a setup in their mind for a disappearance of large groups of people, and that would be blasphemy. Saying that I was taken out in a judgment instead of being taken out because I'm part of the bride of Christ is trashing my name, basically. And so it looks like that's one indication. And obviously, it's that's not something that you can go to town on and
Sure.
be dogmatic about in that passage. But that's one indication that there is a knowledge of something that's taken place with those who dwell in heaven specifically.
Yeah.
The other thing that you have is every time that Jesus talked about the rapture of the church, he connected it with judgment of people on the earth. Every time Paul talked about the rapture of the church, he connects it with judgment of people on the earth and an immediate judgment. And so Jesus compared it to Sodom and Gomorrah, and Lot being taken out of Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot's taken out, immediate judgment on the city. And he compared it to Noah. Noah's taken out, immediate judgment on the world at that point. And in the book of 1 Thessalonians in chapter 4, at the end of chapter 4, you have the rapture. And in chapter 5, it talks about when the day of the Lord comes, they're going to be saying peace and safety, but sudden destruction will come upon them, and they'll not escape. And so rapture and then sudden destruction. And in that scenario, if you have a war, something along those lines that takes place, and it looks like that's the scenario that takes place in the tribulation right at the very beginning. If you have a war that takes place and there's anything like nukes tossed or biological weapons or that kind of thing, you're not going to be wondering about people who've disappeared,
Right.
because you're going to have whole cities destroyed. Nobody's going to be doing body counts at that point.
Right.
And so there might be, just kind of a general thing. Hey, my aunt was missing, and her house wasn't touched, and that there might be those kinds of things going on. But in
Yeah.
general, if you have Seattle wiped out, nobody's looking for
Yeah,
bodies.
and those scenarios take time to unfold. We had one like September 11th where you had to have a lot of time to find out all these people, if they were there or if they were at home and stuff. And that was just one location, couple buildings.
Right.
If you have like a whole city, man, that intelligence coming in could take weeks.
Right. Exactly.